Thank you, Cornus, for joining us this morning. I would like to know a little bit about your department and the different clients that it has.
Okay. So I'm head of the design department. So we do all concept designs that come through the office. So it ranges from retail, commercial, mixed use, hospitality, and leisure. And our clients are mainly developers. We do have bigger companies that we work for, which is well known in South Africa. We do work for Redefine, we do work for Interprop, we do work for Amdec. I can carry on. So a lot of big commercial guys actually use us because we do have quite a big knowledge on various types of architecture, and we have a good turnover or turnaround time rather on delivering projects.
Those are really some big names that you mentioned there.
Yes.
So what type of materials do you frequently specify for your commercial projects?
Obviously, most of commercial, I'm rather going to talk about retail. Commercial, in my sense, is more offices. Retail is definitely more, very cost sensitive. So normally it could be a steel structure with brick infill work. We like to use face brick if we can, although there's a cost involved with that. There's very low maintenance on it. So sometimes the client like to go for that. We sometimes like to plaster, especially feature entrances. Some clients prefer the whole building plastered just because of cost, the initial building cost. But then again, there's a maintenance issue on it. So we normally use steel roofs. So in South Africa, everything is very, very cost sensitive. Feasibility needs to work, and the return for the client is very important. So normally, it's not cheap materials. It's materials that's more affordable, but it's still hardware and material that do last long. If we go multi-story shopping center, it is normally a concrete structure. That's just the most cost effective to use. Also with brick infill work and normally a soft steel roof on that.
Great. Now also, do you have a list of standard green practices and features that you would incorporate in each and every of your commercial projects?
You know what? There's a trend definitely towards doing green star buildings, green star rated buildings. Sometimes the client don't. I think in South Africa, clients don't normally want to go that route because it's very expensive to actually do the whole building and do a 6-star rated green star, for example. So as a rule, we use green design best practice principles, if I can call it that. That would be solar panels on the roof, the depth of your shops, the depth of your mall. Is there natural light coming in? Is there natural ventilation? Trying not, if we can design it in a way that you don't need mechanical ventilation or aircon, for example. Doing the parquet structures or semi-basements, make sure that it's open enough that you have enough ventilation through that. Normally, if you go the full green star rating route, that needs to happen from even your first line that you draw on your drawing. You need to make sure that you have started the correct principles. Sometimes the clients want to retrofit or retro-do a green star rating, which is not always possible. But these principles, some of them that I've mentioned now, like natural light, depth, natural ventilation, solar panels, that's something that's quite achievable. That's something that you can do with your layouts and your planning. A shopping center as a rule has quite big roofs normally, which works ideally for solar panels. So that's where we are at the moment. I don't really know, or I can't think of any green star rated retail centers at the moment. I think because it is so quite expensive to do that, even if you want to do a green star rating. It's much easier for an office building or a commercial building, for example, to do green star rating because you have an open space. It's normally a smallish footprint. It's not as long, extended thing as a retail center is.
That makes complete sense, actually. So, with your experience in Bentel, what types of commercial projects have given you the greatest sense of accomplishment? You know, when you really think,
Yes.
really.
I think, you know, if I can use the word commercial in a sense referring to mixed use, that's something that's happening quite a lot at the moment. A lot of developers, instead of focusing just on the one thing like a retail center or a residential center or a commercial office building, they're focusing more on doing a mixed use. And that is extremely, it makes sense. It makes sense socially. It makes sense in your urban fabric, your existing urban fabric. It makes sense to do a mixed use building because you have 24-hour activity. You have always something happening. If the shops are not busy, the retail's, the residential is busy. If the offices are not busy, the retail is busy. You know, there's always life and there's always something happening in your building or complex of buildings. So, for example, Harbour Arch that we're busy with in Cape Town is a good example of a mixed use. That gives a lot of satisfaction, although it happens over 10 years, for example, because there's normally 6 buildings in that thing. You actually do a precinct rather than just one building. It's nice to be involved with the urban design, the bigger picture of making sure when this thing's finished that the whole mixed use concept works from ground all the way up to your top of your residential level. The Harbour Arch, one example. The other one is a mixed use that we did in Addis, which we, for both of these, we've won the African Property Awards, which is something I need to brag about a bit. And the one in Addis is also a mixed use. We finished the residential towers and there's a bit of retail with offices. Again, something that's not really seen in Addis at this point. It's a new concept for them, having towers that surrounds a public space, a residential towers that surround a public space, and that has restaurants spilling out on them onto a nice public space with a small bit of commercial. I think commercial is not very successful anywhere at the moment because of economic restraints. But that's very, what's a sense of accomplishment happened there. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people on social media are following those projects. Art
Yes.
grand view. So
Yes.
I know everybody's excited about it.
Yes.
And as the architects, I'm sure you also are.
Yes, definitely. And it's nice to see this thing, because normally on a project that size, you work on it for years and years. I'm referring to Harbour Arch. And as someone that, like me, who drew the first line on this project on a piece of paper and seeing it coming out of the ground and seeing the construction happening and, you know, seeing everything coming together, it's great. It's great.
You're definitely looking forward to the progress. But now, how has commercial design evolved in recent years?
Again, I think when you say commercial, I'm going to take it as retail.
Sure.
Retail has changed a lot. I think especially after COVID hit, the new retail centers are, and I'm talking about closed malls, it's something of the past. I think in South Africa, for example, there's too many. You can look overseas in America, they're closing down shopping centers and turning them into residential or some other use. So people are doing online shopping. People are not really doing the shopping in malls anymore. So we do a lot of strip malls, which is convenience shopping, when you park right in front of your shop and come in, as I think surely most people know about. Then the closed malls that we do at the moment, what happens is, I think entertainment becomes an anchor, or has become an anchor. Entertainment meaning when people do go out now, is they want to go sit in a nice piazza, they want to eat out at a restaurant, they want to have a play area for their kids. So the conventional way of having your Pick and Pay or your supermarket anchors has moved from that to you'll have to have entertainment, a big entertainment area in your mall for your shopping center to work. As I say, I think being said, that shopping is online, people do, especially after COVID being in lockdown, do like to go out with their family. They like to go sit somewhere, see their kids playing in a fountain or some other jumping castle or some other play structure while they have a drink, have something to eat. Yeah, no, it's definitely more entertainment focused. And I also think where in the past, why I think a lot of retailers had to rethink their way of branding and their way of dealing with people is the younger generation. I don't know, there's some, if you use certain words, people get upset, but I mean, like millennials, the younger people who are shopping, they want an experience. It's not about going and just buying your shirt or your dress or your food. They want to know where this comes from. They want to know where, there needs to be a storytelling. And I think a lot of retailers realize that you don't have to have this enormous store, 3,000, 15,000 square meters. You can have a smaller space. Don't have to put all your stock on the shelves because people buy internet shopping anyway. But do your experience when they come to your shop something different. Give them an experience of how to get to know your product, where it comes from. Is it sustainable? Because sustainability is a big thing at the moment. And having green, have your products not, making your carbon footprint a bit smaller. So if you have that story, a story like that attached to your shop or to your brand. That's definitely a brand or a shift that I see that's happening. And in a way, the storytelling ties in with the entertainment aspect that I've also mentioned. I mean, people don't just want to go into a store, they want to see interactive things happening. They want people, computers and things talking to them. And, it's all an interactive thing. That's definitely where it's going now.
Now, before I let you go, Cornus, are there any examples of retailers that you've worked on or Bentel has worked on that you've alluded to in your previous answer?
I think smaller guys, and I think a lot of international guys are a bit maybe ahead of us. I mean, a lot of the sports stores, for example, I don't know, maybe this is old news, so you can't really keep up with new trends, but designing your own sneaker, for example, at Nike. That is an experience I'm talking about. It's interactive. You go there, you can pick and choose and make your own shoe. For example, someone that does perfume or someone that does coffee or tea is to tell the story. Where's this coffee bean from? Who's planting it? Who's picking it? Who's grinding it? Telling a story. People want to know and they want to have a nice story to it. I think a lot of smaller guys, hip and happening coffee shops coming up, they do that. You get tea shops now, which you didn't get in the past, because I think tea drinking, coffee drinking is something that's quite intimate. There's a few guys like that. I think even bigger chains, like Edgar's, for example, went through quite a troubled time, and they're changing their whole way of looking at things now. They're having better customer service. They have smaller brands or smaller shops. They are doing brands that's locally made, good brands. They support that. So I think it's something that's happening slowly but surely. We are maybe a bit behind in the rest of the world. I mean, if you go to Europe and look at all those designer boutiques, I mean, it's absolutely mind-blowing what they do just with their shop fronts. And if you look at, even if you go to a nice Louis Vuitton shop, just that the way the shop front's done just pulls you in, and you immediately it perks your interest.
No, I must agree with you. Cornus, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
For everyone who wants to find out more about Bentel and our projects, please visit our website. It is www.bentel.net. And thank you, Cornus.
Thank you. Thanks, Palisa. Bye-bye.
Bye.